Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so good news, very good news about the Lakers. LeBron James, we have some clarity in regards to what his intentions will be this coming season. He's going to be playing for the Lakers. That's what we expect. He wants to fulfill his contract fully, and we understand he's going to likely need surgery on the foot. But that should only have him sidelined for 2 months, which means he should be back for the start of the season. So what type of conditioning he's going to be in based on the fact that he has to take time off to recover and then ramp up his workouts, and it's year 21 and all that, who knows? But I think the Lakers should just operate with the assumption that he's going to be their starting four and build that way. It's safer that way. It's just safer that way because at the end of the day, you have that piece as a fail-safe to say, we know he's there and we know we have to build a championship contender around him, so let's proceed to do what it is that we ultimately want to do. Because if you move with the idea that he may be here, he may not be here, that kind of thing, you may make moves that don't necessarily fit the team he's going to be a part of, as to which you'll find yourself frustrated about what you have there with him, and that could be a much more of a problem than having any other situation where you otherwise lose him and then have to figure out what to do with the pieces. So I think that's the way to go, just in general. That's how I'm thinking. I've been hearing something about DeJounte Murray. And I know the Lakers are looking in the Hawks' direction, but I thought it was for Trae Young. But to be honest with you, I think DeJounte kind of fits better anyway. I didn't think Atlanta would want to move DeJounte Murray. I figured Trae Young would be the one they'd ultimately move, given the fact that they just gave up so much to get DeJounte, and of course have had these different things come about in regards to Trae Young about, him not getting along with the coach and having issues with John Collins in the past and stuff like that. You just wonder if he would be the one that they would ultimately move on from. And DeJounte, they gave up like 5 or 6 picks to get him. And there's no reason to really move on from him. You got him under contract for several years. So the likelihood that they would move on from DeJounte Murray, maybe they realize it's not the greatest fit and ultimately have committed to Trae Young after all. That's one way to look at it. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with picking up DeJounte Murray and contracting, just kind of moving on with that. If we're the Lakers, though, if they're having second thoughts about holding on to his contract for whatever reason, we certainly don't have a bunch of picks to give him, but we'll give them what we got, that kind of thing, you know what I mean, if they just want to unload the player. But I just don't think that makes any sense to me, to be honest with you, if I'm Atlanta. But, if we could get him, I definitely welcome us doing so. I think he would fit both sides of the floor. His jump shot has improved a great deal. His athleticism is fantastic. Even though he had injury issues early on in his career, he's shaking those off and has turned into one of the best young point guards on the floor out there. And I just think that it was never really the greatest fit putting him in Atlanta, asking him to be Trae Young's running mate, even though he could play the 2 guard pretty comfortably. I just didn't think it was the greatest fit. Not for what DeJounte's trying to become. He wants to put his name in the hat as the best point guard or one of the best point guards out there, and I just don't know that he could do that running alongside of Trae Young as a 2. So it just seemed like he was being asked to kind of derail his own personal goals as a basketball player to kind of just join Atlanta and kind of do what they want to do. And I just don't know if that's what he really ultimately wants for himself. I feel like the Lakers would be a much better situation for him to come back, be a point guard, take back that star role when LeBron James retires, and kind of run with Anthony Davis as fantastic two-way guys that can kind of put this team in a position to be successful, even without LeBron James, if they continue to retool properly. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, you just love what that looks like if you're a Laker fan. So I don't think that that's necessarily realistic, that we get DeJounte Murray. No more realistic than us getting any other superstar point guard, to be honest with you. But if we could pull it off, he would definitely be at the top of my list of what seems like what the rumors are talking about. In regards to the rumors, he's the top of my list. I've heard a lot about Fred VanVleet as well. He seems like the one that seems most realistic, to be honest with you, simply because the Toronto Raptors probably don't want to re-sign him, and we have salary matches that are really comfortable to move on from that could make that deal happen. We'd have to obviously throw in pick equity, 17 for certain, and probably whatever else is left. I don't I don't think the salary um, swaps would be something that would make you feel bad about it, though, when you consider it would take Shaq Harrison's contract and Malik Beasley's contract to get rid of it. You certainly don't see a problem with getting rid of those guys, um, and possibly in most situations attacking pick equity to bring in a player like Fled. But since we only have but so much pick equity left, um, you got to be sure that Fred is the guy you want to pay for long term for the point guard position. And he's coming off a struggle season, to be honest with you, even though he had some really good moments in that season. So I'm a fan of Fred VanVleet. I think he's a very solid star level player to have who can really do some good things on the defensive end and definitely can shoot the ball when he's playing well. But when he's not playing well, we saw what he looks like, and that's a player who's not going to do whole lot for you. So we just have to be balanced in our understanding about him and move accordingly. I also wonder if his size is going to be an issue ultimately. That's my thing with Fred. I just don't think he's that tall of a guy. He's probably like 6'2" or something like that. Not really certain, but I wonder if that's going to be a problem for us in the end. So I'm not necessarily hesitant to bring Fred in. If I have a chance to make a move for him, I think I'd probably make a move. I think I probably would throw in 17 if it made it happen. But I'm not going to tell you guys that I'm overly thrilled about moving 17 just in general. I kind of want to draft something there. In fact, I really want to draft something there. But I'm also open to moving it too. So, if the Lakers make a move there, I don't think I'll throw a fit. But my preference is to try to find a way to stay in this draft. That's what I think we need to do. And I'm not talking about the second round. I'm talking about the first round in our range. We want to stay in that range, and we want to draft something out of that range. Unless we got a chance at something like DeJounte Murray or Fred VanVleet, I suppose. So those are options. Although, of course, we've been hearing a lot about Kyrie Irving, and of course, we've told you guys that he's the least likely one to be able to make it happen. Because any type of sign and trade that we would do with him would trigger a hard cap based on how much he's paid, and I think it would probably do the same thing for Fred too. But I think they'd be willing to do that based on whatever it is they're looking at. Not certain, but Kyrie would definitely trigger a hard cap, and in that situation, we would really, really be in a tight spot in regards to filling out the rest of the roster. So it would put a monkey wrench in certain things we're looking at. I think the cushion that the Lakers have is a guy like Max Christie that we know we want to call up and have as a regular rotation player. Probably gives us a little more insurance on guys like Troy Brown and Lonnie Walker, Dennis Schroeder, knowing that we want to incorporate him into the regular rotation. So these are the type of things that I'm just considering right now as I consider what the team's going to look like. I think the point guard position is definitely the position I'd like us to address. I heard Gary Trent's name as well today, and I didn't really do the homework on what it would take to get him. I think I did in a previous video, maybe last summer, but I don't remember what his contract was. But he's also somebody I think makes a lot of sense for our team. He can really rebound the ball, shoot the ball extremely well, obviously, and I like the fact that he's one of the best steals players in the league as well. I think it would fit a really, really good rotation piece for us and solve a lot of our shooting issues and kind of fit the mold of the defensive player that we ultimately think would be best for our team. And looking at the guard spot also, I think this player may be gone by 17, but I took a look at a guy that I think could be intriguing for us, Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's a guard. I think he's going to play some point guard, probably some shooting guard, but this is a heavy dude. When I say heavy, I mean he's in shape, muscle, a lot of lower leg strength. Reminds me of Marcus Smart in terms of his body type. Definitely somebody who's going to move from left to right really fast. An athlete. He's going to be able to put some power into his step. He's going to be able to guard bigger guys. I don't know if he profiles as a defensive player. I haven't done as much homework on him, but just looking at his prototype, he's definitely somebody that we can use to kind of upgrade our guard spot in regards to size. Some of the issues we had guarding Bruce Brown and stuff like that, what we hope Gary Trent will be able to kind of help us with at the 3 and 2 spot. I think Jalen Hood-Schifino could potentially help us at the 1 and 2 spot, just being a heavier guy. Think about what Josh Hart used to be for us, Alex Caruso used to be for us. I look at him as a body type who we could throw out there and will give us some of that same type of size. So that's somebody I'm starting to think very highly of. If he's available at 17, I think the Lakers should do some homework there. So that, yeah, Jalen Hood, Shafino, trying to get more familiar with these guys that are going to be available at our range. Um, Leonard Miller is another player whose name has been tossed around as somebody that could be available for us. I don't know as much about him. I just know the name right now, but I want you guys to become familiar with the names just in case uh, they end up the guys we pick up. So that's just preliminary stuff right now. But as far as a big guard, we could use one. We could definitely use one. I think that's where we were kind of hurting this go around. We just didn't have the physicality at the two guard spot that we're used to having. We had KCP and Caruso. Those were bigger guys. Those were guys who played defense, body people up. Even with Russell Westbrook earlier in the season, we would put him on guys. We didn't have a size issue. But come playoff time, not being able to guard Bruce Brown, having issues with the size of a guy like Christian Brown, both of them Browns, they really gave us problems. Um, so I just think that the Los Angeles Lakers, when you consider you want to throw 20 million at D'Lo, I don't see how I can feel confident that even makes any sense for me when I consider that he's going to need a guy like Jalen Hood Shafino to help defend the people he can't defend. It just becomes a situation where, I really don't want to bring D'Lo back, and I've talked about this a lot. I like him as a player, and you guys know I defended him a great deal in regards to his shooting ability and things that I think he could do. But I just was really turned off by what I saw in the playoffs, and he's too expensive of a player for me to have questions about in this regard. Um, Given the fact that I already have those issues with my main guys. So LeBron James, is he going to be available to play at his best next year? Anthony Davis, what am I getting out of him? I don't want my third guy to have questions. Now, if those two didn't have questions, then I could probably deal with D'Lo a bit better. But that D'Lo's position and his piece needs to be a sturdy piece. I need to know that guy's going to be solid. I need to know that guy's going to be able to play when Bron ain't there, and hopefully be able to keep us relevant when Bron is gone, which is why I think we're going in the right direction by trying to look at guys like Fred VanVleet, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. Those are the guys that I've heard, and of course I've entered a name into the equation that I want us to take a look at. A guy by the name of Kevin Porter Jr. in Houston. I think would be somebody that might be realistic for us to pick up because I don't think they're going to re-sign him. And I do think he's of the caliber of those guys, just maybe like 2 years behind them. So that's kind of what I think he should be. He should be somebody we also consider. And then you think about guys that are not as of cachet, but maybe you could kind of slip in at a lesser price, and maybe they could develop into that. I don't know who that would be. Guys that come to mind are probably guys we would have to try to get creative to try to acquire. I'm thinking about guys in Orlando, like a guy I would love to pick up in that vein would be Anthony, Cole Anthony's. Cole Anthony. I think he would be a great guy to kind of pick up right now, slip into your situation, and watch his value increase. Because he's good as heck, and spent a lot of last year hurt, and the year before that he broke out, and I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten that because he's in Orlando. But now he's in a situation where you got to play with like 3 or 4 different guards, plus whatever 2 lottery talents they're bringing in. It's starting to get to a point where they're a little crowded there, and you give the fact that they have so many wing guys, 7-footers and stuff like that. They're building their whole team essentially to be 7 feet. So what happens to these guards that have upside like Suggs and Anthony and Fultz? It seems like Fultz is the guy that's stepping forward to really take the reins. So what happens to Anthony? What happens to Suggs? Well, I tell you, one of them comes to the Lakers, and that's how I look at it. Now, Suggs I have a lot of questions about because his injury issues. He hasn't gotten off to a good start with his career. But I know his natural ability on both sides of the floor, coupled with some of his strength and things like that. You just bring him to your team and you hatch him. But I don't know if his upside is as high as it's supposed to be. A guy like Anthony, I have a bit more proof of what it is he could do for me now. And I just know that he's somebody who's going to be a star if you give him the keys to the car and just let him shoot the ball, let him do his thing. I think he could do a lot of damage next to a guy like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And so that's kind of a pie in the sky type of thing. I don't necessarily think anybody's going to be able to pull him away from Orlando right now or anything like that. But when you consider what the Lakers are trying to do, these are guys I think could probably come at a discount and may actually surprise you at what levels they can do, what they can reach someday for you. So, um, these are the type of things I want the Lakers to consider. But at point guard position, I think about what's available. There's Nick Smith, I believe, is available. He's a guy that looks interesting to me. Watching him in the highlights that I saw, he kind of has some Emmanuel Quickly to him a little bit. Uh, Not really sure more of him to say any more than that, but I just think that there's some really good point guards in the range that we're going to be drafting in, and it might be a good idea for us to consider what we can do for ourselves at the guard spot instead of pulling our hair out trying to go in the free agency route, or trying to re-sign D'Lo at some inflated price that we don't agree with, bringing back guys that maybe don't necessarily fit our plans long term, but just need to fit the guard spot anyway. We can use 17 to do that. So yeah, I want Rob Pelinka to take a look at Hood Schifino though. I want the Lakers scouts and all those guys to just take a look and see if he makes sense. I haven't even gotten as far into the homework as to say he would fit. I don't know what his game is, but just taking a look at the dude, when you lay eyes on him, it's like, okay, this is a big guard. I know for certain that I can throw him at people that are gonna. I could put him on threes sometimes, and he's gonna have success. I could put him on ones, he's gonna be fast enough. So, his offensive game, all that stuff, I have to learn about. I don't know nothing about him other than to say I know he's in our range, and he's a big size guard, and that's exactly what I want the Lakers to consider in regards to our guard spots. So these are things I'm thinking about. And what else? Kalabi is a player. I think his name's Kalabi. He plays with Wembanyama, with the French team out there. And I got a chance to watch a little bit of him yesterday in live gameplay on NBA TV. It was a winner go home situation for their team, and they were up by like 20 when I turned the game on. So it wasn't much to see, but he did get some good play out there. Had some breakaway moves, and you could see his length as a forward really play out down there. His athleticism played out pretty well out there in the small sample size that I saw. So Bilal Kalabi, I believe is how you say it, or something of that nature. I think I called him Billaby in a previous video, but that guy has some upside that I think could really be helpful to our team if we were to draft him. So he's also somebody I have my eyes on in that range. But yeah, man, these are exciting times. Even though the Lakers are not quite where we want to be, at the end of the day, now that we're in our off-season situation, we could see that our team is pointing in a direction that's going to bring us some more talent. And I think this summer, for myself, I kind of have loosened my stance on not bringing in a star. I've loosened it. I'm definitely on board with depth. Y'all know I believe in depth to the highest order. And I don't think I've wavered too much on that this season, other than to say the Nuggets have proven to me that there is a way to get around that, but it takes a lot of luck. So I don't like luck. I like what I'm certain of, and I want to keep that. But you can't really beat a team like Denver unless you have a guy that can match Jamal Murray. If you don't have a shot maker, as somebody who can go blow for blow, against him, you're in trouble. And not only that, but you also need switchability stuff going on with the Denver Nuggets. We clearly see how much their size was a problem for us, which is why I'm targeting for us to get a Hood Schifino, for us to bring in a Gary Trent, because I just feel like those are two type of body types, along with a guy like Max Christie, that we could see upgrading our entire rotation next year, making us more switchable, making us better on the boards, and making us a better shooting team. So, I don't think you pull off getting a guy like Trent without throwing in 17, to be honest with you. But just like a preliminary type of thing, to where if I'm just dreaming of a way things could really work out for the Lakers, maybe we swing a trade for that player, draft the Hood Schifino kid, and of course bring in Max Christie, Scottie Pippen. Hopefully we can keep him, pull him up a little bit. Austin Reeves. I think I suddenly like our rotation more this year with those youngsters, depending on how well they can play together and how much they can do at once. Maybe I bring in a vet, step in front of them, bring back Schroeder, that kind of thing. But ultimately let those kids kind of have a little more of the range to do some things. Maybe I feel good about that. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's too early for those kids. But if I'm keeping Austin Reeves, I feel a lot better about Austin Reeves year 3 as a point guard if for some reason all that stuff doesn't work out for me. And then Dennis Schroeder's still in the mix. And I keep my cap space from D'Lo. I don't need that. I don't need that problem, man. I'm not gonna go in with him and say, okay, now I got him. Let's trade him in and find out nobody wants him. I'm cool. So that's what I'm worried about in regards to him. We get him started this season. He goes down with an injury where he's not as tradable as we thought because of the contract that we ultimately put him on. So if I have questions about a guy, I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I understand the specifics of the conundrum the Lakers are in. They just made a trade for this guy. They don't want his value to dissipate. There's a lot of things pointed. He is a talented player, so you don't want to just let him walk in theory because he does have value in this league. But you gotta make sure that you're signing him to something that you and the field can respect. And then from there, you have to trust that he plays well enough to not lower his value even further, which is something I don't expect him to do because he is a talented player, but he looks so bad in the playoffs. And that's something that just is going to be hard to shake when you consider we're a winning championship caliber team. We want to do damage in the playoffs, and here's somebody we expect to maybe have a problem in the playoffs. It's just I don't see myself not trading him at the halfway point because I'm going to want him off my team before the playoffs. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, if I know that, then the field knows that too, and that's going to reflect in the price tag come halfway point when we're trying to trade him. So the likelihood that we want to trade him, maybe he's hot at that point, maybe he's having a Brooklyn-like season where he's an all-star, and of course we don't want to trade him and all as well. That's best case scenario. Hopefully you have him on a good contract at that point and everybody's happy. But that's a lot of things coming together to look good, and I don't have a whole lot of evidence of it coming to look together to look like that. You feel me? So it's like, if I'm going in there with D'Lo and I got a bad taste in my mouth about him as I'm doing so, I don't really think that makes sense for me to sign him to anything. You know, that's really what it comes down to. I don't. So that's what I hope the guys are doing a good job of, just kind of assessing what they're seeing there a little better than ultimately I am. There are a lot of things to take into account. And the Lakers know what they're doing at this point. We've made a lot of mistakes with contracts and stuff like that. I don't think we want to put ourselves in a position to be less flexible, especially with the changes in this collective bargaining agreements and things of that nature. So it's tricky, but I do believe that cap space, D'Lo's cap space, may be able to go a long way in helping you keep people that ultimately you may have to let go of based on the fact that other people go try to poach you for those players. You know, I can see a team like the Rockets throwing everything at Austin Reeves, or Rui Hachimura maybe getting a lot of paper thrown at him as well. You got D'Lo off the books, you could take some of that paper and throw it at those guys if everything lines up that way. So it's very complicated. You know, it's a lot of things that go into play that I don't really understand as of yet. So I'm not going to say that I do, but what I can say is I want the Lakers to, make sure that they dot all their I's and cross all their T's before just signing people. Don't sign guys just to justify signing them, trading for them. No, don't do that. Now with Rui, it's a little different, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you why it's a little different. Because we traded for him future assets and things of that nature that look like it don't matter. But if you only had him for a half a season, it actually does matter. You know what I mean? And so we love that we had him on our team. And we saw enough from him to know we want him back. So that's a good thing. The trade was excellent. It was a home run. But if he signs with somebody else, how much good did it ultimately do us? And some may say enough, because we got to the Western Conference Finals. He was a big part of that. I could argue we didn't play him as much as we should have because we wanted to keep his value low so we could re-sign him because of all of this. So, you got to keep this kid, is essentially what I'm saying. I think keeping Rui Hachimura is secretly a very important thing for Rob Pelinka. And I ain't going to say it's not a secret, but in terms of how people are evaluating how he's doing, you kind of don't want to be throwing away anything from 2029 in 2023 for something that's only going to be here for half a season. You don't ever really want that to be on your resume. And that's really exactly what that would be. So Even though it's second round picks, and I tell you I don't care nothing of those picks, I care a lot less of those things when he's with our team than if he's a rental and we didn't even get a ring out of it. So I don't know how people assess these things on other situations with teams that never won a championship. I'd imagine if you bring a guy to you, he plays half a season, that's money well spent for a lot of teams. I'm just wired differently. If we didn't win a championship, ain't money well nothing. And so for me, it's like the idea is to keep the kid. It's money well spent because he was awesome, so we want him back. If he was trash, then you're upset at the fact that it didn't work out, and you're upset at the fact you gave up those future assets. So here lies a situation where he definitely was not trash, and keeping him should be absolutely paramount for the LA Lakers, and without even considering what was given up to get him back. So that's what I have to say about that. I think it was a mistake not using him more in the playoffs, and you lose sight of what's most important, because if he would have played him more and he could have helped us win a championship, and then you lose him, wouldn't that more so have justified the trade? You know what I'm saying? If we would have utilized him to the maximum, he helps us all the way to the finals, beat the Celtics or the Heat, and then for some reason he just goes get a bag somewhere because we utilize him too much, and now he can go get $100 million somewhere. Why is that? Why is that worse? I don't know. Maybe you just don't think he can help you win a championship anyway if you play him 37 to 40 minutes a game. But given what he was doing out there per minute, I could argue that that's exactly what it was telling us on paper. So I don't know. I don't know if it equates that way. There was a lot of things he has to refine about his game. I like that he worked with Phil Handy this year so much and was working with our coaching staff. I thought he showed signs of being extremely coachable. And I think he would be excited about coming back and being a part of this thing too, given how much progression he found putting on this uniform. So I don't think he probably wants to leave at all. I think it would have to be a heck of a bag that would make him want to leave this situation, because in his previous situation, he didn't get a lot of playing time. It wasn't a whole lot of upside. People weren't excited about him. Here, it's the opposite. And so while he's played up his value, I would think as a developing player, he'd probably want to stay in the place he's most recently had his most success. So I'm hopeful that that's how Rui is thinking, and we would love to have him back. And so, yeah, Austin Reeves, same thing, 100%. I don't think there's anything that hasn't been said about Austin. I just now leave it up to it's in Austin's hands, really. Now we know he's going to get offered bigger bags than what it is we want to give him. San Antonio and Houston are already on point in regards to making him what they want to give their money to. Houston is probably going to come after him hard. And if I were in Houston, I would want him more than I want James Harden, to be honest with you, for a multitude of reasons. And so, Austin Reeves is going to have his options. But, what I know about Austin Reeves and listening to his story is he positioned himself to be our player. He had a chance to go to Detroit with a draft security type of thing, and they were going to give him a guarantee or something like that. He said, thank you, but I'm going to take my chances as an undrafted player because I have other options for myself. And he took those options. He's a Laker because of it. I don't think he positioned himself to become a Laker, to leave LA, to go to a team like Houston just for a bag and maybe not have the fit. I don't know how Caruso feels about being in Chicago, but he got his bag. But that situation, I don't know if it's much better than the one he had here, to say the least, after winning the championship with us. Now, obviously, it was our fault not making sure we had his money, and I don't know if it was an option for him to be a Laker. But that's not the point. The point is, you don't generally want to leave the Lakers unless you just had a bad time with him. But a guy like Austin who's thrived here, guys are trying to kick down doors to get here. I doubt he doesn't want to be here, put it like that. People have left before, but not having played as well as him, with still so much to do in this uniform. So I think the likelihood that Austin just chooses to go to Houston or San Antonio, I don't think it's that high. I really don't. Unless they just change his life with some ridiculous amount. You know what I mean? But even then, I've seen guys turn those things down for great opportunities at championship glory. And I don't know if he sees this as that. But Houston definitely is not that. So we just go put that out there. Houston ain't that yet at all. And given the fact that they're trying to make certain moves that I don't know where they're at right now. It doesn't seem like they want to be as patient as necessary what it is that they've inherited. So that's a mistake. I understood that Wembanyama during the draft lottery was kind of had like a little celebration to himself when Houston was called to have had the 4th pick in the draft. Like, that's telling. You know, if a young player like Wembanyama don't want to go there, that tells you a lot, Tillman Fertitta. So I just think Tillman needs to consider being a lot more patient with what it is he has. He shouldn't have fired his coach Silas. I don't think Silas should have been fired. And I've said it a million times. Not that I follow the team very closely, but I just felt like he was asked to tank and he was fired for a bad record. And so you got a lot of young kids up there who have a lot of talent, lottery picks up and down the roster. They don't suck by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe the style of play ain't that great. Maybe that's why they changed the coach. But at the end of the day, they got more lottery picks this year. I don't think James Harden is the answer. I don't disagree with trying to come after Austin Reeves, other than the fact that I'm a Laker fan. I think anybody should want Austin Reeves as much as I do. So, yeah, everybody should be after Austin Reeves, to be honest. But as far as going after James, I just don't get that. I don't get that for nobody. I think he's a fantastic superstar caliber playmaker right now, because he's going to get you upwards of 15, 20 assists. But just like I said about D'Lo, if I expect you to fall apart in the playoffs, why am I bringing you to a championship caliber situation? That doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? So he's one of those guys where it's like, I got you for the regular season. If I'm some regular season team, I'm going to throw opportunities at James Harden so that I can make the fullness of my regular season successful for what it is I'm shooting for. But I don't know of any teams in the league right now that should honestly have that mentality right now. I don't think so. None of these teams should have that mentality. So, I don't know. I just don't see. I don't know where Houston is headed. They haven't made any mistakes yet. But yeah, no. I think I've said all of this to say I don't think Austin should go to Houston. That's what all of this is about. He should not want to go there, even if they have a little more money to give him. I don't know that they're heading in the right direction based on what it is that it seems like they want to do. So that's something I'm looking at there. And what else? Was there anything else that came to mind today? The Lakers. There's a lot of movement expected. I watched a podcast earlier today, a good portion of Woj's podcast, and he was just talking about some of the things that are going to be expected in regards to movement. And it's just a lot of teams that are going to have to make decisions on their players that they may not have necessarily felt they needed to give up on, maybe guys they were really comfortable with because of the new collective bargaining agreement. They're going to have to move on for some people they don't want to. That tells me that what the market looks like, the landscape of what we're looking at, players that we think will be available and all that, we need to kind of put an asterisk on top of that, because some things will shake loose within this that I'm talking about that will shake loose even further things that will ultimately look a lot better to us. So you want to just keep your cards close to you and be ready, have fresh powder, so to speak, for when the market gets good. Once these teams start realizing that certain players they wanted to keep, they can't keep. Once they start realizing that other guys that they would rather not give up on, or players that are starting to play better or something like that, it can get a little funny out there over the next 3 months throughout the summer. So I would tell the Lakers not to go too crazy in regards to thinking knowing what you're looking at there. It's going to change quickly on us, I believe. I think we're going to see a lot of movement, and from within that movement, you'll see more movement possibilities, is what I'm trying to say to you. I've heard a guy like Middleton's name being thrown around there. If we could find a way to get our hands on Chris Middleton, that would go a long way in what our issues was against Denver. If you talk about not having an answer for Porter, that goes away. And that's exactly the type of piece I think the Lakers should try to invest in. I've heard conversation being had about another rookie guy, Jet Howard. He's Juwan Howard's son, and he also has a jumper that looks nice, kind of a 6'10 guy who can help us. I don't know if he's 6'10", 6'8", but he's an offensive scorer, has some polish, can definitely put some shots up. He fits that role a little bit. I'm thinking of guys who can be our Michael Porter, who can kind of be comparable to where we don't have to find ourselves with lacking in so much size against that player. Rui Hachimura obviously is important in bringing him back, but who's going to be in that rotation as well to help us with size? Jett Howard is somebody I think fits the mold if we want to give him a look at 17 in the draft. So it's a lot of different things the Lakers could do to try to fill that mold and get that player in place. So that's what's on my mind. I just want the Lakers to make sure they have somebody like that. I heard that Max Christie has grown an inch since we've drafted him, so that's really encouraging. I think he was only 19 when we drafted him anyway, so I think guys keep on growing until they're about 22 or something like that. I think that's what the age is, something like that. So that's not too surprising to me, but it is very encouraging knowing that Max Christie already had good size, already had good length. If he can grow even more so, he becomes even more dangerous. So I'm overly excited about Max Christie. He's absolutely on the untouchables list for me. I'm not involving him in any trades of any kind, so don't call for Max Christie, is what I would tell all teams at this point. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. And what else? Was there some other names or something? These Lakers, I'm trying to string together all of the stuff that came to mind in regards to the LA Lakers, but truthfully, I'm just wondering what type of content is going to be there for you on a daily basis, because really, it ain't no news yet. We're kind of just still waiting for the Eastern Conference Finals to end. Of course, the finals from there, and then once the draft starts to shake up, we'll start seeing trades. But as long as teams are still actively playing ball, I don't think there's a whole lot to really know. Some speculation and learn in regards to studying these draft players and all of this other stuff, but it's all rumors right now until these teams stop playing. So that's really what we're saying right now. And yeah, I don't want to sit here waiting for my brain to come back around with more content. I think that's pretty much where I'm at. Obviously, we know that the Boston Celtics have started to roar back into the situation with the Heat. We'll keep our eyes open in regards to that. I'm still confident the Heat are going to win the series because no one's ever come back from 3-0. And even though people were talking about, oh, the history is about to be made, I've seen this movie before. Now, I remember this was done once before. Team got to 6 and they lost. So I'll believe it when I see it. If we get to a Game 7, I might start getting a little nervous, so to speak, since I'm a Laker fan who needs the Celtics not to get any further. But, right now, I just don't – I'm not there yet. The Boston Celtics got to win 2 more games, and they've only won 2. And the Heat only have to win 1 more game, and that's what it really comes down to. But we can't lose sight of what Gabe Vincent's absence really means for that series. From what I understand, he's averaging 17 points, shooting over 50% from both the 3 and the field. And so basically he's a superstar. If you really want to know what that means he's shooting better than most. And so with him not being out there, it causes a great deal of drama for the Miami Heat to try to overcome out there with a ever-improving Boston confidence that they're coming up against. So, yeah, man, can't appreciate what Boston is doing by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a Laker fan. It just won't happen. But from afar, it is definitely something that most should be very excited about. And so that's about all I'm gonna give it. That's all I'm gonna give it. I'm a Laker fan, and that doesn't sway with the history that's being made. I can't even bring it for myself to be really happy for the players. That's how deep my Celtic hate runs. I want you guys to lose. So hopefully the Heat take care of business, and that is all I really have to say about that. So yeah, man, that's my talk for the day, man. I appreciate everybody for rocking with BDF 44, and I'm out.